Thank you, Mahua. Let me ask the audience. So, what do you think of that session? Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more, Mohua. It was really, really heart-touching and awe-inspiring session. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. After that talk, I thought we would definitely want to dwell a bit more and get some nuggets of wisdom from you. Hardly. So let me start with my first question. Your return, you mentioned, to professional life, or your restarting your career in 2018, was after a 22-year sabbatical. That's not a short time. So at that point in time, who was it who really inspired you to, where did you get the courage from to come back? Anyone in particular you would want to talk about?
Um, I think the courage was mine. I don't know if I can really, and of course, the support from my son. He was always encouraging me that, Mama, you need to write. I really love the way, you write letters to me. And, but the courage was really mine, Seema, because I don't think anybody within my family or even outside were okay for me to be anything different than what they'd seen me for those 22 years. Everybody was very insecure that what if she doesn't have time for us? What if she's going to become too big than what we are finding her right now? So the courage was really mine.
Yeah, because they didn't want to get out of the comfort zone of you
No,
being
no,
around.
nobody wanted.
Yeah.
And I think I speak this on behalf of many women, who stay on at home. And I do talk to a lot of homemakers, and all of them are very frightened because that encouragement and is missing for a lot of us. And of course, the world had changed in 22 years, Seema. I was, of course, frightened myself. But I am a mother of a working woman also. And that has stayed back inside me, and I'd worked in the past. So it was frightening. But if you don't dare, you don't fly.
Yes, absolutely. And I do agree with you. Most of the times, women are looking for validation and acceptance from family. And if they don't get it, then that kind of, holds them back. But I just wanted to give a message out there that you don't have to really, be frightened. So, you have a success story in front of you, and you need to really come back and believe in yourself and take courage and fight out and be a rebel like Mahua. Moving on, you mentioned that writing has been your choice, your passion since childhood. Yet you put it on hold for decades while prioritizing your roles as a mother and homemaker. How challenging was that? That 2 decades when you were not writing, how did you cope with it? Because writing is something that you love. How did you manage that?
I kept buying lots of clothes. I kept. And I bought a lot of jewelry, and I bought, like, a lipstick, and I had a cup of coffee. And I used to watch people write, but I never had the courage to tell them that this can be better.
The typical retail therapy for women. That
Yes.
works.
Yeah, that's what I did, I think. I had forgotten, Seema, that I really was capable of anything. That's what I said that at the start, that, initially I felt that there was something that I understood about work, but over time I just completely, and I fell ill. And when I fell ill, all I wanted was to just get back on my feet, get out of those steroids, get out of those medication, and every day popping so much of sulfur drugs and also steroids, almost losing an eye. And so that, I think, at that time, what remained as a priority for me was to really get all right, because I had a little child, and it used to really, I used to be very jealous when I used to see that, that the time when I was completely bedridden for a very long time. He used to run to the house help, and that really bothered me because he was my purpose.
Yeah.
And I felt needed because of him in, in my surrounding. So when he ran to the house help is when I told myself that you have to get better, because I want him to come to my arms. I had decided to do something different from what my mother did. My mother was not around. She used to be a working woman. I had a maid who was at home, or I opened the lock as I grew older. And I wanted to do this differently. So I don't think I really thought about writing. I had forgotten.
You
about
never
all
had the
that.
time to think.
No, I didn't have the time to think at all. No, Seema.
But that was very brave of you, and I think it was very courageous of you to have fought back that illness. It's not easy.
Yes, I know a lot of people do succumb. And it was a very difficult phase of my life. And I remember going into hospital for more than years. I almost lose track of the years every day.
Oh my God. But your son has been your constant source of inspiration.
Yes, he has, constantly.
So how often do you talk to your son now?
Every day.
That's really sweet. And did you ever have a conversation with him about that incident where he tried blocking your Facebook account?
We have a good laugh about it. He's like any possessive little boy, you know, who his friends are sending Facebook requests, which he took great offense to, and
that actually almost
So-
reminded me of my instance. So, I'm very active on Insta and Facebook, and I have a 27-year-old young son as well. And typically, his friends would send me friend requests, and I would accept them. And then I will get into a chat with them, and they would say, "Why do you have to be friends with my friends? They're my friends." Yeah. So yes, we have to, as a mother, you have to really adjust to those things. Enough about myself. Uh, I'm sure there are many aspiring authors and writers who are listening to us here and virtually. So I would want to help you understand what is the process that you had followed when you were writing Nautanki Saala, from ideation to conceptualization to outlining, drafting chapters, and ultimately securing a publisher. Any advice you would have for the aspiring authors that we have around?
So first and foremost, I think to be an author, one needs to read good literature. You learn language, you learn how to use metaphors, how to learn to look at very small, ordinary things and find the extraordinary in it. You need to find that magic of your inner eye. Writing Nautanki Saala for me began from the fact that I was writing little blogs, and I continue to write, and I write even today every day. I wake up sometimes at 4 o'clock, 4:30, and I continue to write. I'm a compulsive writer. There are people who are compulsive drinkers and smokers. I'm a compulsive writer. So you got to write. As far as the chapters are concerned, you'll have to always have. I can talk to you a little bit about reporting, especially because all of you are you're in a corporate job where you're constantly probably writing. But remember that when you're reporting anything for a report, because I've written close to 500 columns after that first denial from first post. And your main story should be in the first paragraph. As far as the book is concerned, one has to break that down. Please find a mentor who is going to guide and take you forward. I found an amazing mentor who was very, very kind to me. It's very important to have a kind mentor. Gone are those days when people will say, oh, the stricter they are, the nastier they are, it's great. No, it's not. Because it can make you very insecure, especially if you're writing for the first time. You want somebody who's kind, somebody who's nice, somebody who's understanding, and that's the mentor I found, in a guy called Akshay, based out of Bombay. And like I said, I'm a compulsive writer. I continue to write the stories of the people that I'd met in my life. And these were, again, people who have been displaced. I wrote also about the exodus of the Bengalis from Shillong. And these are all real stories, of real people. And excepting for the last one, which is, your alter ego, which I feel that each one of us right now sitting all together, every woman, we're all connected with a universal story that will combine at a certain path somewhere. So that's how the writing process was. And add as much of metaphor as you can. It makes it very interesting for the readers. Try and make it as use language that's easy. Make short sentences so that you don't make mistakes. And one tip as an author that I have followed, also as a columnist, I write and I shut it and I take a 30-minute or a 40-minute or a 1-hour break. I go grab a coffee, chat with my mother, or just chat with a friend, and walk around, munch something, and then I come back and I take a look at it with fresh eyes. And the articles that I've written after taking like 2 days, they have been flawless, because you keep going back and you keep realizing that there's a mistake here, there's a mistake there. So please take those breaks. That's the luxury of being an author, that you can take a break while you're working, and that break is always going to be fruitful for you while you're writing.
I couldn't agree more. Moving on, you said that Yeah, I've seen you. You're a very sensitive and emotional person, which is kind of reflected in your book, also in all your work. But we also know that emotional women are generally perceived as weak, right? So, did you have to prove yourself? Did you have to fight it out?
Women have to fight it out every day. You have to prove yourself every day. Every girl will admit to it. You either have to prove to your father, you have to prove to your boyfriend, you have to prove to your husband, you have to prove to your. We're all the time trying to prove. And that's what I spoke about. Self worth is something that we all need to really address now, you know. So we're all the time seeking validation. For me, when I wrote, I was seeking validation from my father, who was extremely well read, and he read so many books. I wanted him to say that you've written well, and he never said it to me. And yeah, and that validation is something that really can kill you, because you need to find that tribe amongst more male and female friends who may not be your family. And that's where you shift the power within your own self. Because if you're going to continue to give the power from places that you know is not going to come, it is wise for you to move that power place.
Yeah.
And I would like to leave this. And, you know, everybody's talking about EQ today, Seema. Emotions are your strength. I mean, definitely women have got their hormone, you know, and we have our imbalances, but, and we do have issues scientifically. I mean, you know,
And
we
you
go
have
through so
actually
much.
channelized your emotional energy. And I
Yes.
think that is how the Mohua
Yeah.
show came up. So,
Yes,
would you like
and
to tell us about it?
yes, also Seema, I think, you know, if I'd not gone through all of that, I like, a lot of people ask me that I'm very old now to start, right, for my
Not
for a
really.
career. Yeah, because podcasting is done by a lot of youngsters. The consumers of a podcast are young people.
But you always challenge the convention, right?
No, it's not about challenging only the convention. I also feel that, you know, when I talk to my guests, the maturity that I have today, I would not have had it in my 30s and my 20s.
Right.
And that is extremely important, because it's very humbling to know that you know, you understand, when you talk to the person, you have no ego. And if you want to be successful, you need to drop your ego. And without that, it's never ever going to work. You want success, you need to drop your ego, because we are constantly evolving. We are constantly learning, Seema. And
The humility is the success factor.
yes, and also to know that there is somebody better than you. There will be somebody better than you. So you should not think that, you know, I mean, just because there's a million downloads, I've done something. There are people with many, many million downloads.
We should never think we've arrived.
Yeah.
Because life is a journey of evolution.
Yes, absolutely.
And you have to be prepared.
Yes.
So on that note, let me now bring up the new project that you spoke about. You have just curated a project for Spotify, which is Divorce with Dignity, right? And looking at the work that you've done, I've seen that you actually delve into such sensitive topics. What is the thought behind it?
Because of the Mohua show and its success, Spotify got in touch with us to, you know, curate a program for them, and they had left it totally to us. And my PR always comes into play, because we look at it from the marketing perspective also of what content people would like to consume. And I just feel that divorce as a subject is still very taboo in India.
True.
And you know, we still don't speak about it yet. There are many, many relationships that are falling apart, and they don't know where to turn to. They do not know which lawyer to go to. They do not know which counselor to go to. They like to hear stories of other people and say, okay, you know, this person handled it this way.
Draw inspiration
And
from that.
yes, they draw the inspiration from that. So we've curated a podcast called Dear Ex, and where we talk about that there can be dignity when you are ending a relationship, and there can also not be dignity, and it is okay, because it is a journey. And we've had very, very amazing you know, lawyers who come and spoken about what are the things that you expect. Also this, that, you know, there are men, and we always think that, you know, probably the minute that divorce comes through, the man is going to go out there and date. It's not true. There are men who sat there and said about how emotionally devastated they are to go back to an empty home. And it was amazing. And there was another man from Portugal who actually turned around and said that I do not know how to trust anybody anymore. So it is amazing, you know, to hear stories. And there is another author called Sarita Salvan who's just going to come out with a book called The Good Divorce, and she has you know, worked around it, and she shares a very, very transactional but a very healthy relationship with her ex-spouse right now. And she's spoken as to what it took, what are the things, steps that she took. And I feel that the podcast at this juncture, when it will go out, will help because there is the rise in relationships falling apart, in people getting lonelier. And if I can hold the hand of somebody who's my listener, I think, like I said, that it would be worth the journey.
Giving back.
Yes, giving back.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with you. It's all about the process, especially when you have to get separated or divorced. It can go both ways, right? I mean, it can be. It depends on the process that you have, but I think the main objective is that it's always better to live in a relationship happily, and if you're not happy, then you should not worry about staying on. That's the message that I would like to give to some people. You've already spoken about, let's talk about your caregiving role. You spoke about it. So, not just a mother and a wife and a homemaker, you were also caregiver to your father and then your father in law. And now you're looking after your retired mother as well, which is extremely commendable. What advice would you be giving to the working women, many of them here, who probably would be having caregiving responsibilities and they also have their careers, right? So, what would be your advice to them in terms of how do they really balance out? You spoke about balance. Unfortunately, yes, that is very important in women's life. So, how do they pursue their career and at the same point in time also manage their caregiving responsibilities?
So, as a working woman, it can be very, very emotionally challenging because most women are trained to feel very guilty for not being there. You have to learn to cut the differences between that you owe yourself your career. You earn to be able to hire that help, and once you hire that help, please ensure that you stay on tops of it. And there would be times that your people who you're the caregiver to, they're going to be very unhappy with you
and make you feel guilty.
And you have to learn to choose what is it that is good for you. And this entire emotional roller coaster that you will face, it depends on how you want to take it forward. In spite of me being a homemaker, I definitely had a caregiver who came along with me for my father for his weekly thrice, his kidney transfusions, for his dialysis. And being a caregiver isn't easy. Most women are given this role. I guess because we've been taught that we are great caregivers.
Yeah, that's ingrained in the society.
Yeah, it's ingrained.
Caregiving role has to go to women. We never really think about men playing their part.
Yeah. Also, having open conversations with your spouse and saying that there would be days you would want to take a break, and they need to, help you with that, and you have to just continue to take your conversation forward even if they want to remain there. So don't give up.
You have to plan well and you have to ask for help.
Yes.
And it's sometimes okay to be a little selfish. You have to think about yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
That will be my last question. I know you're already writing another book, it's my letters to my father.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that and when do we get to read that?
Well, Letters to My Father is a book in which I've really bled. And I'm actually extremely scared, Seema, of the book coming out because it's a book in which I've written about my father losing his mind to dementia and being extremely harsh to me. And there were days when I was really, really tired of going in at 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night to the hospital. Of course, I have very good help with me, but he wanted me around. And yet, the book Letters to My Father is about things that I could not talk to him when he was alive, and I needed to go through this entire catharsis of speaking to him about our days in Shillong, what displacement did to him. How is it that when he went in, to take his dialysis, he knew the way back to Shillong house, while we also knew the way back to Bangalore. He was constantly wanting to go back.
I think you would take him back to Bangladesh, did you not?
I could not take him because he just fell ill very badly. And I still remember that entire phase. It was very, very, very heartbreaking. Also for my mother, when she became a widow. The letters actually to him are also what when a man becomes a widower. How can they handle this entire loss? because I think my mother, in 1 year, she's become better. I don't know how my dad would have been able to handle it. And it's a book also on our shift. It's a book on daughters when I think most of the generation of our parents would have preferred to have a son as they grow older. And those gender dynamics, I think, with this new generation is changing now.
Thankfully so.
Yes. And so, yeah, the book delves with all of that. It's a hard, difficult book, but it also talks about the way I've come back to my life with my work. And Rupa Publishing has found a home there, and I'm looking forward for it to be published. I'm, in fact, in the last editing process of it.
That reminds me, you're also doing a special first of its kind literature festival.
Yes.
With Rupa Publications. Tell us about that.
So I just felt that, you know what, these literature festivals are fantastic forum to hear many authors all over the world. But there's a certain snobbery there. There are many, many, many authors who may not have the means to be there, who may not know how to network, who may not know how to go ahead with the publishers. And that's where I've tied up with Rupa to bring in a literature festival, which is going to be an audio podcast where we're going to have conversations, where we're going to have talks with authors who are going to publish their books, and one section specially curated for specially abled authors. I don't think we've addressed them till today. And we've just done the interview with a person who has climbed the Mount Everest after having lost one leg. And so I just feel that these stories need to go out of resilience, of courage, of knowing that there are people who are very fortunate to get their Times of India front page coverage, and there are many people who may not get that coverage, and that's what you will find through all of my shows, all my work, unheard voices, ordinary people with extraordinary stories that are celebrated.
Yeah. So you'll be using technology, so it will be again
absolutely yes.
Podcast.
It is a podcast. Yes.
So Lit Festival as a podcast. Amazing idea. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure the audience is really enthralled with what we've discussed so far, but let me just open this to now audience for any questions that you may have.
Just don't ask me very tough ones.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your talk this afternoon, and I think it's very inspiring. So one question I have is, it's not exactly a question, it's just an experience. You mentioned you were a single child, right? And having been uprooted from your place where you belonged, moving to Delhi from Shillong and leaving your friends behind. Whom did you bank on when you were, all by yourself, not a sibling, and your parents were also in the similar situation? So who did you bank on for that emotional security or ups and downs that you're going through when you were young?
Through art and writing.
Okay.
Even today, I bank upon that. Every challenge that I've faced, I journal. I journal and I continue to write about it, because you're not going to always find people who will understand exactly your situation. And I keep myself extremely busy also. So even as a very young girl, I did multiple things. I learned the sitar when I was free, and I was constantly learning some craft, art or craft that was of interest to me. So that became my huge allies.
So pursue your passion and keep yourself busy.
I'm asking because I'm a mother of a single child. So, sometimes, and I do use the TV as a babysitter, many times when we don't have help and, when we both of us are managing our careers. So oftentimes I do wonder, he's just living, but I do wonder, tomorrow if none of us are there, who would he bank on? I have a sister, so, for me, that was an emotional anchor, and a lot of childhood friends, which may or may not be there. So I just wanted to derive some.
Don't think of the worst. I mean, think about the fact that you can do so many things for a single child that maybe, with more siblings, he or she may not be able to get. Like for me as a single child, I never ever missed a sibling ever, because I had great friends, and they continue to remain siblings with me. And my son is also a single child, and I was sure that I could be a good mother to only one single child. I would do a horrible mess if there were two. So yeah.
Yeah, I would also like to add that, Kavita, you don't have to fare the worst. And I'm a single mother. I'm also a mother of a single child, and sometimes that worry does, cross my mind that after me what. But let me tell you, these kids are very smart, and they know how to build their networks and their friends, and we don't really need to worry about them. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, Renat.
I don't have a question. I have a remark, maybe something I want to say. I'm coming from a completely, let me stand here. I'm coming from a completely different environment, okay? I think I'm the only non-Indian in the crowd, right? Completely different. I thought that my life was a struggle, okay? It was. I have a different story. Every time I'm telling it, people say, wow, you're so strong. And it's not even a small part of what you've been through, okay? And I think it's, I was sitting here, I think you saw my face. It's so inspiring to know that somebody has a center, and when you have the center, nobody can beat you. Nobody can beat you. And I wish that your podcast will go beyond, I hope it's beyond India, because people needs to know. You said some things about girls and women here. I was about to cry. It cannot continue, and the fact that you took this route and you're giving this voice, it's so important, much more than inspiring, okay? And I'm gonna go home today, and I'm so happy I came, Seema. Really, it's and to congratulate you on the way that you did, and that you were not afraid. You shouldn't. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, by the way. Men also have their issues. We tend to think that they're so strong. Not all of them are that strong. And when you get stronger, you feel how, they're also, they have their own issues. But you've done, and after 22 years at home, this is a breakthrough. Really amazing. I admire you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's truly transformative, as they say. We have a lot of men in the room too. Any questions from men? I know we've done a bit of men bashing today, but now is the chance for you to speak up.
Hello, ma'am. I just have a question. Why the title Nautanki Saala? What is the story behind it?
Yeah, I've been asked this question by a lot of people actually. So this was of course chosen by my editor, and as a first-time book author, now when I look back, I think it should have been a different title because it doesn't convey the seriousness of the stories inside. Most people associate this with a film that had come out called Nautanki Saala. But in this book, there is a story which has the same title. This story is about a girl called Malti. I'm giving out the story, who is a dancer in a village, and the courage that she musters to leave the village and go on to the city to become a dancer in a city, that entire travel, from the place of familiarity to an unfamiliar place. She's not overcome, of getting out of that abject poverty or of, oppression, but just the shift because it wasn't working for her emotionally, I think resonates with many, many women. And because I have been working in this space and talking to a lot of people, I don't know how many of you know this, that there is climate change, and in the Sundarbans, a lot of islands have gotten submerged. And in fact, that's something that I want to do, and I have plans by the end of this year to go and stay there. There are grandmothers who have gone ahead into prostitution in the bigger cities, and because they have no way back again. And unless these stories are told, because we're so cut off, we're so far away. I've actually met a lady who turned around and she told me, I know I'm digressing, that when Amphan had happened, they were on one tree with a snake, with a man and a woman, and there was also, she says, the tiger on the tree, because everybody was trying to save themselves. The floods were so high, and she said that the tiger didn't eat us up, and that's all I'm very grateful about, because my kitchen went under water. Her husband is paralyzed, and she had to earn, and she was brought into Delhi, and finally she landed up in Bangalore. And in Delhi, she said that the man wanted to sell her off, to earn some money. And where does morality come in at that time? Really nothing, because all you want to do is earn money for your people. And these stories are not told. We only talk about people like us who've gone to good schools, good colleges, and we've got language that breaks the barriers of communication. But there are stories out there that need to be told and retold and retold. And that's what I'm going to do till I live.
And Nautanki Saala has many more such heart-touching stories. I would recommend, if you haven't read it, please do buy a book. We have some books displayed outside. Not just Nautanki Saala, but also her latest book, which she has just launched 2 days back. So you're really fortunate that we have the author here. If you decide to pick up the book, she can actually autograph it for you all. But Nautanki Saala is definitely very, very heart-touching, Mohua. I remember crying at every story that I read there. And till the time I had finished that book, I made it a point every night before going off to sleep, I would read one story. And every time in my dreams, I would continue the story that you would have told there. So it was really very, very freshly, told. Any other questions that we have? Yes, yeah.
Ma'am, while you navigated through all the challenges, the bad days, was there any day where even you didn't feel like maybe writing, or no words came to you, wanted to write, no words came to you? You said that writing is your compulsive, you're a compulsive writer, but through all these challenges, was there any day where you didn't feel like writing also?
Yeah, we spoke about it. Writer's block, that's called.
Not a single day. There isn't a single day where I have not. Writing is my muse, my guru, my partner, my grief partner. So if I'm sad, I need to pour it out on paper, because I know that empty sheet of paper or my notes on my phone is not going to judge me. My friends may judge me. My mother may judge me. My people around may judge me, but my piece of paper is not going to judge me. There's not been a single day where I've not written.
So before we come
So,
to close,
Just a comment, no question, Mohua, and so inspiring to listen to the story. And I've watched you from the far, but didn't know so much about what you've accomplished. And more power to you. Thanks, Seema, for getting this story shared with us. I think it's going to really help us to find our next best version. And wish you all the best to find your next best version. And I'm sure you're not going to stop here, and don't stop here.
Thank you so much. Gratitude.
any other question from behind? Yes, please. Anuke.
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, you've done about 175 episodes on your podcast. Any specific podcast or any person you've spoken to that, out of the mind you can just remember, and any learning that you would like to share over here?
You have to speak it.
Any learning that you can share over here from your podcast that you remember it's been with you after your session?
Actually, out of the 175 episodes, I think all of them have been fantastic. I mean, it's very difficult to choose people, but if I were to look back, I think some of the podcasts that have really stayed back with me, deep entrenched in my heart, was a girl called Sheetal Krantikari. She is a girl, again, of a bar dancer's daughter out of Kamatipura. And she was, she did not understand why her mother dressed up every evening and went into work. And she did not understand as a young girl why in school people didn't want to play with her, because her mother was an aspirational woman who put her into school. And today she is works for an NGO. She travels all over the world telling her stories, and I think I cannot be more humbled that she trusted me with her story. We've also had people from different parts of India and the world. We've had a girl called Naila Amin, who was the first woman to challenge the law in New York State on child marriage. We talk about India, saying that women are, there's so much that goes on, but we do not even address the fact that in the US child marriage is legal even now in many, many states. And Naila Amin actually fought against the system because she was married off at a very young age to her cousin. And it was very proud moment for me for her to open up and share with me. There have been young girls, also, women and men, like I said about the trans man Aryan Pasha, who's the first bodybuilder who spoke about his difficulty about menstruation on the podcast. There's also been a lady who has acted in this film called Colors. She's a trans woman, and she spoke about how in the world of surgery, even today, the doctors do not know how to go ahead with a transgender surgery because it's not there in our books. And how many of them lose their lives because they have to, just go to a quack and in the middle of a village somewhere, and a non-sterilized blade is used for them, and they can lose their life. But what goes on in their souls when they are going ahead and embracing their own gender? So these stories just leave you realizing that what I see of my own struggles is so minuscule in comparison to what's happening all around us. And also for anyone who's an aspiring podcaster, a few things that I can share with you is that please find your niche that you would like to talk about. There's an absolutely free space to distribute your podcast. The more you create content, the more you're going to get people who follow you. You definitely need to keep SEO in mind. You definitely need to look into the ads if you can. If you have a budget, even a small budget would work. And the world of marketing is changing with podcasts. So it's great while you're driving, while you're changing. You can just switch on and listen to amazing podcasts from all over the world. So I'm a huge believer of this medium of communication.
Any more questions?
I have a question, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It was a very inspiring session. My question is regarding the basic, emotion which most of us have, inhibition. How do you think one can conquer inhibition? A lot of times, we want to do things. I mean, there's no lack of desire, but there's always this inhibition. There's always this fear of losing something, fear of losing, fame. Or, for example, if someone were to, ask a question here, they would always fear that they would be judged by someone, right? I mean, how can one conquer that fear or inhibition for that matter?
So the best way that I can answer this is that if you want success, you have to let go of your inhibition. If I wanted to be successful and I also had this entire constantly thinking that should I or shouldn't I, and that's what differentiates between you and the rest. So if you want success, you have to let go of your inhibition. You should not, like I said, should not think of what the outcome is. Go ahead, and whatever you think is the hardest and the most challenging, I promise you is going to be your best life lesson. And that I can say with my own experience. Technology, I used to shy away from, but there came a time when I said that I'm not going to be inhibited, and I will go and ask, even if I sound stupid, I will ask those questions to learn. And here I am today. I can handle conversations when I know that they're trying to make an ass out of me whenever there's an agency that comes on board. So if you're going to continue to nurture your inhibition, you're never ever going to reach anywhere. Just don't nurture it. Let it go.
Well said. Any other questions?
Ma'am, we have an online question, if you can take that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The question is, in the beginning of the talk, you mentioned it is important to keep your culture alive. These days, when we have people marrying intercaste, interreligion, interstate, how do we continue to maintain our culture? Difficult for kids to follow both parents' culture, and as a working mother where your in-laws are taking care of your child, how do you not feel bad that your culture is somewhere forgotten on the go?
I haven't yet begun, matrimonial counseling, but I promise you, if I ever going to get into that subject, I surely would be able to come out with this answer, because that's a very difficult one to negotiate. I mean, I think one needs to know what you're getting into, and yes, definitely any kind of a shift of what you known as familiar is difficult. But like I said, that every individual have got different personal challenges, and I don't think I am the right person to comment on that.
Let me try add to what you said. So I think the key to success is how do you really, adjust with each other. You have to be mindful. You have to carry both the cultures together if you are an interfaith or intercultural marriage. And it's important to let go sometimes. And at the same point in time, it's important to draw a balance between the two. It should not be only one person compromising or adjusting. And that can only happen by having real conversations with your partner. And if your in-laws are taking care of your children, then yes, you have to be extra careful, and you have to sometimes let go of your own personal choices. And for the sake of harmony at home and for giving a good environment to your children, you need to be extra respectful towards your in-laws. I hope that will help.
Thank you, ma'am. If no one else has it, I have one more to go.
There's one question.
Okay, you take it from there.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you so much for the inspiring talk. As a PR professional and as a young generation, as such, I mean, we cannot obviously face the struggles which you guys have faced. It obviously it's something which different generations face in different time. While you are present across the social media, have you ever faced any social media strata or a troll that you might remember, and how did you counter that? Because there are people with that misconception. Oh my God, that there is a perception that people would not want to accept. So how did you do that, and how are you challenging that situation? I mean, social strata altogether.
So of course I have been trolled. I've been trolled very badly when I had written about, the Iran where Mahsa Amini was, she died, right, because of her hairline showing. And it was strange when I wrote the article, I had 150 women from Iran who were inboxing me and sending me videos and saying this is what is happening, till their entire internet was completely blocked off, and so there were people who turned around and said that, we'll shave your hair and come and catch you before you start writing, because they made it more about religion, which wasn't my entire intention. It was about a woman being free. Of course, it's her choice whether she wants to wear the hijab or she doesn't want to wear the hijab. I'm no one to talk about someone's faith or what is comfortable for them. But for the hairline showing and a person being killed for that just doesn't make sense to me at all. I have been trolled for that. I've also been trolled for, very badly trolled for an article that I'd written for CNN, and the article was on this actor who had slapped, during the Oscar Awards. So he went ahead and slapped because he called his wife. I think he called her bald because of her alopecia, and he went ahead and slapped her. So I think in that entire article, I wrote about the fact that why is it okay that if your wife or your mother or your aunt is being called bald and you get angry, and you're very okay to call somebody you don't know fat and ugly in any of those words. And so I think that really got a lot of people very, very angry. I was trolled, but for me, I think trolling is very interesting because I think it has bugged some people, and that's what I probably want to do with my writing. It doesn't bother me.
And I think it would also give you different perspectives which you could be using in your writing, right? It
Yes.
opens up other people's minds.
I do realize that there are many people out there who are not open, and it is okay. So then you get even more stronger with your articles, And my articles, if you ever get a chance to read any one of them, they are very, very unapologetic. And like I said, that I can't lie on my
Written
paper.
straight from the heart.
Yes, straight from my heart, what I feel, for causes that I feel closely attached to. Yes.
But do you ever respond to these trolls, or you just kind of...
Initially, I used to respond like a good girl because I was used to Facebook and responding to every friend who said that looking nice, looking lovely. I thought it was okay to respond to every troll till someone turned around and explained to me that, you should learn to be little discerning about all of this. And I am dying to respond, but then I stopped my fingers from not typing back.
Sometimes you have this urge, right? Somebody has said something which is not good, and you want to correct their perspective, and then you want to give your best and justify. Did you feel that ever? I mean, I do that all the time.
Sometimes yes, and sometimes it's an unending battle, and you let it be. But yes, if I have a point, I continue till I have my team who turns and says, just back off now.
Absolutely right. So do we have any more questions? Any question virtually?
One last question. Somebody is saying it's an anonymous one. She's saying you have a very inspiring journey. Can you share a few tips for self motivation in the situation where everything does not go as per the plan? So that's the question.
That's an important one.
Okay. Self motivation is that when you really reach the end of the tunnel or you're really at the lowest of your low, you will have to crawl out of it. And if you will not crawl out of it, you're going to die. And you need to have the discipline, I think, because there is a certain amount of discipline that all of us should have in our lives about wishes and dreams that we nurture. Nothing will fall off like the apple, from the tree. None of us are lucky. When I began, there were many days that I felt that, oh my God, I don't know why am I pursuing all of this, and why can't I just calm down and go out for just a film and dress up and enjoy myself and come back. There are days I too feel very, very not motivated to do things, and you start questioning. But please don't nurture it. Like I always say, don't entertain it beyond that one day. What I do is this, that I have a good cry if I feel very, very lost. I go eat a nice big pastry all by myself with a black coffee, and I think I'm really doing great justice to the calorie. I tell them no sugar, no milk, and I buy a huge cake. Or I do retail therapy, and the next day I'm back again into doing my work. And the universe will, I know I sound probably very spiritual when I'm saying this, that if you have a dream and you have the heart to pursue it, kainat bhi nahi ruk jayegi. You'll have the world, kainat is going to get together, the universe will get together to hold your hand and take you forward. You just need to have the right vision, the will, and please be consistent with whatever that you start. Consistency and having no ego is wonderful, because for me, when I started so late and I had been in a very senior position, to start all over again from ground zero, I had no ego. I was always willing to learn from people many, many years younger than me, and it was okay.
So, as we draw this conversation to a close, I would like to thank you, Mohua, for the most awe-inspiring talk that we had today, especially the fireside chat. Thank you for opening up and sharing everything from Dil Se, honestly from the heart. That's your favorite phrase that you use even on your show. And I would like to say that I'm sure we have a lot to take away from your life journey and this inspiring session. Let us carry forward the lessons learned and let them serve as a guiding light in our own endeavors. A big thank you to our audience for being here physically and virtually. Together, let us continue to inspire each other, appreciate each other. Remember to focus on excellence, and success will follow. Together, let's make a positive impact in the world. And on that note, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you.